Hello, welcome, and namaste. Today, my guest is Akshay. Akshay and I met about a year ago in a Twitter space, and then we formed our own small community, which I really love, all the people there. Akshay started his career as a machine learning data science field, but then moved into AI, and he has been involved with many projects, many companies. So with that, I want to hand over mic to Akshay. Akshay, tell us about what are the different things that you are doing. I know there is a slight change in your career path. Give us an idea what type of work that you do.
Hello, first of all, and thank you for calling me. Yes. When you asked me to be here, I was very happy because I don't consider myself very accomplished as of now. And like, I look up to you a lot. And you asking me to come on this podcast is like a really great thing for me. So thank you for that, first of all. And yeah, coming to my career, I started my career as a data scientist. I actually started as a data science intern when I was in college in third year. And I continued the same thing and I became a full-time data scientist after college. And recently, as recent as January of this year, I switched into applied AI engineering, where I basically take existing AI algorithms and apply it in business to derive business results.
Thank you, Akshay. What's your typical day and week look like?
If I were to, depends on how my career is going. And by that, usually I work two part-time jobs and not one full-time job. So if I'm working on two part-time jobs, I'll usually allot 4 hours to the first job and other 4 hours to the second job during. So the first job will be during the day. So in the like morning session, and the other 4 hours will be late at night. It won't be in the middle of the day. So I'll usually wake up and go to the gym. I try to stay in shape. I try to stay in athletic shape so that I can lift my own body weight and I can run and stuff like that. So I go to the gym and then I come back and cook breakfast for myself. I stay alone, so I cook for myself. I cook breakfast and then I'll start my first job. I'll sit down. I write a lot of SQL code and Python code sometimes. And my work also involves a lot of meetings. So I have to meet with a lot of people, understand what they're struggling with. Sometimes I meet with clients of my company. Sometimes I meet with my own freelancing clients and stuff. So a lot of meetings. Usually I always keep meetings during the daytime so that there's good lighting and stuff, right? And then I'll just, as soon as I finish my work, I'll start cooking my lunch. I'll cook my lunch, eat, and then I'll have kind of some time at my hand. I'll use this time depending on if I'm learning something. So I'll take the time to go through the course materials and stuff. And usually I'm learning something on the side. If I'm not learning something, I'll take this time to watch 1 or 2 episodes of some anime or some movie or some show. And then in the evening, I'll just go out for an evening walk and buy groceries for the next day. And then again, late at night, I'll start working. I'll usually work till 8:30, and then start cooking dinner. Sometimes I'll order. Usually I order dinner from outside, but sometimes I cook as well. And then I'll eat dinner and then again continue work if I still have to. If I'm done, then I'll read for the last 30 minutes, where I keep my phone and all my gadgets away from myself and I read for 30 minutes. Sometimes when I am in Twitter spaces and stuff, I would read at like really late, 11:30 and 12. But I keep in mind to always read a book for about 10 minutes to 30 minutes every day before going to bed. And it really soothes like everything I know about my body. And then I'll sleep. And that's how our day looks like.
Nice. Do you do any kind of like formal planning your day or week?
Let me just grab my phone and show you something. So this is something I advocate for a lot of people I have seen, because in my life, I also guide a lot of students, juniors, even my
Uh-huh.
fellow batchmates in my college. I did a lot of talks and workshops and stuff. And there I would ask people, how do you plan? And they're like, oh, I set goals. I set this and that. And then 3 days later, I ask what's happening. They're like, oh, I just missed one checkpoint. And then everything was dumpster fire.
Right.
And I tell them that instead of that, why not set systems, right? And I have learned this the hard way, that setting systems for me is what works the best. So instead of, for example, every day I wake up and I have to decide what to cook, it will create more friction in my life. And I would be sitting down, scrolling my phone, thinking and deciding in that. So what I do instead is I have almost my whole month basically planned in my calendar like this,
Okay.
right? So you see, like I have blocks for everything. I cook food at this time, I cook breakfast at that time. And this, when I work out, when I read, everything is like planned here. Basically allotted. It's not strict. I don't always stick to this robotic life or something. But every day I wake up, I don't have to decide what to do. And this I usually do in the starting of a month. I usually do it for a month in advance. And now this really depends. Again, I don't go too much
Mm.
in details. I keep it generic. So I will not go, oh, I will cook just exactly on this day. But I know that I have to take this amount of protein in this week and this amount of
Right,
basically track
right.
my diet and stuff so that I stay healthy because I stay on right. This planning is there. And I have created this system where I don't have to think much every day when I wake up and what to do, how to do, as long as I have tasks at hand. And I always have tasks at hand. So I would be just doing things one by one. As soon as I complete task one, I know that as soon as I complete task one, I have to start this, and this
Mhm.
is task two. And as soon as it's basically like a stack, you go through this is first step, this is second step, and then the third step. So this is how it goes usually. Yeah. Some days when I don't have much to do, and when I say I don't have much to do, I mean by I don't a lot of tasks to me. That day I will just chill out. I'll just be on my bed, enjoy, build electronics. That is my hobby. Or play the ukulele. I have a ukulele and I try to learn it. I'm terrible at it. Or sometimes I just watch anime.
So that when it comes to goal setting, we had a conversation on a Twitter post that you posted, and then I shared mine, quarterly planning. So let's talk about that. How do you plan your quarter, month, or long term goals?
Yeah. I don't have quarterly plannings. I don't set the goals according to the time. I allot time according to the
Mm,
goals.
mm,
Right.
right.
So not necessarily every time my goal will need a quarter. Right. Sometimes I might want to achieve something very small. For example, like right now, the project that I have not yet announced, but I think by the time this episode is out, that project will be announced as well. I was trying to fine tune a zero point 0.5 billion model in a free Google Colab. So basically, free resources to fine tune a large language model. Not so large, but still a large language model. So I was building that. It requires, let's say, 3 days, right? It's still one of very good checkpoints for my life, for my career and stuff, but it requires a very small time. Now, if I allot a lot of time to it, I will still have my time slots engaged, but I will not have anything meaningfully productive to do in that time slot. So instead, what I do is I have goals. First of all, I have to achieve this, I have to do this, and then I allot time. Now, the thing
Okay.
with goals is I don't like to set typical goals like the way most people do. Like I have seen people around me, or you have seen people around you who's okay, I have to get this, I have to achieve this, right? My approach to that ended with my day preparations because that is definitely not the way to go. For me personally, it is, I always allot goals in terms of input. So instead of saying that I want to earn this much amount of money, I would say I want to build these many products or I want to work with this company for this longer. My goals are always in the forms of inputs, right? I don't want 10,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. My goal is I have to publish 10 videos by the end of this quarter. So that would be the way I set goals. To publish 10 videos on my YouTube channel, how much do I need? So I'll go look at everything, all the resource requirement. Time is one of those resources. I have other resources, right? I have my own energy as a resource. So I'll consider how much does it take to create one video. And then I'll roughly take for 10 videos and then allot that time to this goal. And this has by far worked the best for me. I usually stay on track, stay on time, respond back to people on time. And so this has worked phenomenally well for me. Previously, I have tried to do the traditional method of I want to achieve this, I want to do this. That usually what happens that you miss one checkpoint and everything is just out of your hand. And that's the reason I strayed away from that to this new system that I have.
I will give you a slight challenge there, okay? What you are
Sure, sure.
explaining is action oriented goal, action based goal. Like in 30 days, I will write 30 articles. You gave one example. Similarly, I will go to gym 5 days a week for a month. something like that. But you have a why somewhere, why you would do that. So if I will write 30 article in 30 days, even if you're not thinking about I will gain 50 new followers, you still have to think about why you are doing that at the first place, right? So you probably already have that. You may not realize it though.
No, I do realize it. Actually, it's a very conscious mechanism. And this, I have been asked this
Uh,
before. These are students, by the way. These are like first year students. And while I was in my fourth year, they approached me and they're like, wait, you just said on stage that you have only input oriented goals, like action oriented goals. Then how do you like, what if nothing comes out of it, right? What if you don't earn money? You build projects, you work for company. What if you don't earn money? What if, right? That those scenarios. And how I told them and how I look at it is I make an investment in my own
mhm.
future. Every time I do this kind of input oriented goals, I make an investment in my own future. Writing 50 articles might and might not gain me 50 followers, right? But it will definitely make my writing game
Right.
stronger. And maybe the 51st article that I write is better than the previous 50 articles. And the thing with life, as long as you're not chasing reward and chasing excellence, reward comes to you. And this has been my experience for the past 7 to 8 years, mostly that I have been exposed to the world. Before 8 years, I was mostly in my village, but that is a different discussion. That for those 8 years or so, I have seen that this has been the case. Every time that I have tried to chase reward, that okay, I have to get a 30,000 for my first internship. My roommate had a 10,000 per month job, 10,000 rupees per month job. And my goal was I have to get a 30,000 per month
Yep.
job. And I worked hard for 3 months. I gave myself 3 months of time. I applied to hundreds of companies. Many of them wrote back, and most of them were ready to pay 5,000, 7,000, 10,000, 12,000 was the maximum offer that I got. And all of this because at the time, machine learning was not as sexy as it is
Mhm.
now, right? And at the time, people were like not willing to take risks on a beginner, a student who claims that he knows machine learning from some unknown college. And I failed basically in my goal that was to get a 30,000 rupees job. And then I thought, okay, fine. I'm not getting my job anyways. So why not I just take my time to build good projects and just enjoy that. And when the time comes, I'll sit for college placements and get something for myself. That was my thought process at one point of time. So I did that. I started building projects with full involvement and I started posting about them here on Twitter. And then this one person posted about something related to my project. And I saw that this person is basically a director of data in one of the companies. And I asked him, "You're a director of data, I'm looking for an
Mhm.
internship." And he was like, "Let's talk." And then we talk. And they asked me for money. And this time I did not make any, I was like, whatever you pay me, it's fine. Because I was not chasing money
Right.
anymore. And the letter I received, it was for 75,000 rupees. My first internship was 75. I could not have dreamt
Right.
about it. Like in my college, people get that as full-time
Yes.
salaries, right? I was struggling for 30,000 per month job. And now I had a 20,000 just because I was investing in myself rather than trying to work for a tangible
Yes.
goal, which I might or might not get depending on what happens, right? And that was my whole thing. This is basically everything about my life comes from our personal experiences. Everything. I have very few things to refer to other people's advices. I have very few things to refer to other people's books and stuff. Almost all of my whatever I like practice, whatever I do, comes from my own life experiences. Somewhere I have gotten hurt, and I have learned from it, and then now I practice the right way to go about it. So that is how I look at it. But I would be curious to know how you would look at it for product matter, like in short, if you want to.
So thank you for sharing that. I will try to give you a synology or something, right? Illustration of what I understand based on what you said. You started walking from Delhi toward south, okay? You
Mhm.
have the clarity that you're in software development, you not in marketing, not in manufacturing, right? You have that kind of high level clarity that
Right.
you're using this mechanism or vehicle. Yeah. Software development is the vehicle that you're on. and the direction is towards
Right.
south. Then if you have this idea of if I'm taking these 5 steps every day or every week, and these are my current list of activities or input that you're taking. And then let's say from Delhi to Gurgaon, then you're adjusting and seeing how much progress that you have made, what you like, what you don't like, and then you made some tweak, and then you started walking again. You reach Agra, and then you using everything that has you already done. What's the next thing, and then you setting that. At some point, you may reach Bangalore or you may reach Mumbai. It doesn't matter. Both are great locations, and then you're going toward that.
Right.
Right? Is that a good analogy?
But what difference would be that most of the times when I'm working on something, for example, I'm taking the
Hmm.
steps, right? I know the direction and I'm
Yep.
taking the right steps. So by far, I have only reached the correct destination, right? And this is like very intuitive, like you are in the right direction and you're taking like steps. It's just that you're not forcing
Mhm.
yourself to get there. You're forcing yourself to just maintain consistency every day to
Yep.
just
Yep.
walk 5 to
100%.
50 steps. That what I
100%.
do.
I think where I'm going with
Yeah.
this story is there will be time in your life where you will have three tempting directions. So you are in Agra, you could go
Right.
toward, I don't know what's next. You could go toward MP, Rajasthan, and UP, right? And
Mhm.
they are all tempting direction. And then you
Yeah.
will have to consciously make a choice which direction you will be going for whatever next iteration that you will have, right? Those will be the
Right.
moment where you will have to make those hard choices, whether out of 5 opportunity, which 1 or 2 opportunity that you will pick and which 3 opportunity that you will let go.
Right.
Those, for me, that's when I started using quarterly planning. That for this quarter, out of
Right.
10 things that I could do, I will go in this direction. I will work on these 2 projects and I will not look at these 3 other things. Okay.
That is a very nice way to go about.
Yeah, because
I think we share this thing in common because remember the list
yeah,
that I had
yeah,
posted on
yeah,
Twitter, and it was actually a lot of things that I
yeah,
wanted to do. A lot of so I had this system where things I need to
yeah.
do, and then I had things I want to do, and then I had picked the top 3 things that I would be doing, and then everything else I just ignored. The tunnel vision. So yeah, we do that. Yeah, a lot of
Exactly.
study and a
Right.
lot of valuation goes
That's
into that.
exactly where I was going. You are already doing that without realizing. But yeah, I had to develop a system for myself because I am somebody who go after shiny objects. And for my 9 to 5 career, I had really focused approach. But everything that I have done on my side is always based on all the shiny objects that I will do. So I probably have done, probably have tried 20, 30 different things, from building a web agency on the
That is
side where I had 3 developer working for me, to starting an Amazon FBA project, building my own app for which 5 of our friends contributed a fund and created a team of 15 developer in India, and we run a project for a year.
wow.
And then there are a lot of things that I have done in terms of writing projects. So I've done too many things, but since April of 2021, I was able to stick to this one direction. Again, talking about my side project, one direction, which is writing and building content and gaining the clarity around exactly what I want to do in next 5, 10, 15 years.
Like, to pull off something like that, you have to have the level of, I think, regulation that you have. And that is something I admire you for. I have told this before many times in spaces also, many times in spaces that you were not in, that I admire you for having this kind of regulation and the way you curate words. For example, sometimes you have given some answers to me or to
Mhm.
Ashish or to other of our other friends of ours. I have noticed this, that I can see the regulation that you have. And that is something that comes. And I think most people will have to get there
Yeah, with
one day. For now, like for me, it's the conscious decision to actually let myself go with
yeah,
shiny objects, because
yes,
I know right now is the time to go with it. Right. Like sometimes, for example, right now, I am choosing to sacrifice some of my career for my family and my village life and this place that I grew up in,
yeah,
this environment. So this wall is made of actually soil, mud, and bricks. This is a mud house, basically. So I'm choosing to sacrifice some of my career for this life. But one day I know that I would have to get that tunnel vision that you talked about right now. And I somewhat have it in terms of, again, what I want to achieve and wherever I want to get to. But in terms of, do I get distracted? Yes, all the time, right? Happens all the time. And sometimes I do notice it and I let myself get distracted because that is
yeah,
life,
on,
right? Like too
yeah,
much regulation is also, in my eyes, I will feel like, what's the difference between this iPad and this Mac and me if we have this similar kind of routine, rhythm, and everything, right? So I let myself go out of the rhythm once in a while and then pull myself
yeah,
back. And again, this pulling back thing is again based on systems that I have built, right? So what if I lose one checkpoint? What if I lose two checkpoints? Can I come back? And coming back, recovering from a fall is, I think, one of the biggest points in all of this goal setting and goal
yeah,
achieving logistic area, where I've seen a lot of people who have great goal setting abilities fail because they don't have a recovery plan built in. Where once they fall, they don't know how to get back. They don't know how to get back into rhythm. And this, again, I have learned from experience. I have suffered because of this. And then I've built a system where every time I lose track of it, I bounce back, right? Build a recovery system about it. And I think we'll talk about it more later in other sections. But yeah, that is how I look about it. Yeah.
man, this was amazing. We didn't plan for talking this long in this section or this setting, but I enjoyed it. That was amazing. Let's go into some flashback after college
Mhm.
until now. It's 2 years, right? Total since you completed your college.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 2023, October of 2023. So not exactly 2 years, but I have been working for longer. So my experience is of 2 years, but I have graduated 1 year ago.
Okay. Okay. So Akshay, tell me something. You
Yeah.
could have done
Wow.
hundreds of different things. Let's start with college. Why did you choose to go in engineering?
Yeah. So I did from this unknown college. Most people don't know about it. Its name is PES College of Engineering. It's in a city called Mandya. Mandya is in Karnataka. It's about 90 kilometers away from Bangalore. It's in between Bangalore and Mysore.
Okay. Okay.
It's it's like the political capital of Karnataka. It's a nice college in terms of infrastructure and environment. So because it's away from the city, it has a lot of land and a lot of greenery, a lot of good infrastructure, to be honest. Nice people, lovely people, to be honest. Very lovely people, welcoming. I was a northern. I did not speak the language back in the day. Now I can speak Kannada very well. At the time, I could not. So the people are lovely there. But in terms of opportunities, it was slightly different, right? Few people who would talk about tech, few people, very few people, in fact, who would code in engineering college, right? So that is my college background. And talking about the career choice, this path, I don't think we can start from my college. We have to like go back. And I'll start from this place, this very place where I was born. I was born, and thankfully, so in my life, and I think this deserves some mention. In my life, my strong main role model is my father, right? And it would be an understatement if I said that I consider my father equal to God. It would be an understatement, right? I have said this to, other than his face, I have said it to everyone else, right? And that is because, and you'll see why I say this, right? So I was born in this place, and the background, you have some idea, but I can talk
Mhm.
about it now. No issue. So this place has a very dark background, right? Very violent background. Like when I was a kid, I used to see dead bodies like every day. it was a generic thing. Like at one point, I was like, huh, it's a dead boy. It's just a weird head. No big deal. So I was born here, and again, no internet, no phone, no those stuff. And my father has this mentality where is let a kid enjoy its life. Okay. Let a kid just be a kid for as long as they can. So he did not try to send me to school as soon as possible. He just let me play, just let me enjoy. And I would just go out, keep playing with wood and stuff. And at one point, I was not going to school. I was 4, 5 years old. I'm not going to school. I have a lot of time in my hand now. I have developed from being a simple, I cannot play with sticks and stones anymore because that is not sophisticated enough for a 5 year old. But I don't have toys. So now that creates a need for me to build something for myself. And from there starts my journey of trying to build things. And in the beginning, I would just take wooden sticks and stuff, try to build something out of it, like a something, whatever I could make, right? And play with it. And then about 6 years old, my father, I think that was the first time that I have in my memory that I went out with my father. Yeah, right. I went to a fair basically and got a toy. Like I think it's natural for me to just get addicted to toys when I was a kid. I got a toy. And by the time I came home, I was very excited because I have a toy and I was playing with it. Day one, day two, fine. Day three, I was bored of it. And now what was going on in my head was actually, wait, this is fun to play with, but how does this work? And the only way for me to find out was to dismantle it. And I did exactly that. I broke it. I broke it and I got a few slaps from my mother, which is thankfully she slapped me. But I broke it and I somewhat broke the internal parts also. I damaged almost everything, did not understood anything about it. And then I asked my father to bring me another toy. And my father did. And this time he told me, don't do this instead to open it and look inside. And I did that. And now I had an understanding of, oh, this is a wheel. This is driving this thing forward. This can happen. I took out the wheels, took out a toothpaste cardboard box, put a few holes in it, and put the wheel on the backside. And in the front, what I did is I just made holes horizontally, right? Not horizontally, diagonally, sorry. So it's on an angle. And I put front wheels there. So you can imagine the rear wheel is like correctly aligned, but the front wheel is slightly on an angle. Yeah. And I let it run. It goes round and round. And that gives me happiness. And now I'm like about 6 years old, right? And I'm this curious, annoying kid, like amazingly annoying kid. I'm not, even right now, I'm not comfortable in a world where I don't know how things work around me. I look around me and I see something. I know how it works or I want to know how it works. There's just two middle grounds. I cannot ignore it. So now I'm asking my father, how does this light bulb work? How does this fan work? How does this work? And my father has a background in diploma in industrial electronics. So he knows electronics a lot, very well. And so imagine a 6 year old asking you, how does the fan work? Most people would respond, oh, you press the button, the electricity goes there and it makes the fan run. My father starts with, okay, that is a induction motor. Wow, I'm a 6 year old, okay? Keep that in mind. My father starts there. It's an induction motor. It requires two coils, starter coil, running coil. Starter coil requires phase difference, this, that. And I'm like, oh my God, all of that goes over my head. But I just listen to it because it's fun to listen to. And just he did that. He kept doing that for 7 year old, 8 years old, 9 years old. I kept asking questions and he kept explaining me the most detail for any equipment I had at home. And then for, I think, my 10th birthday, he gifted me a screwdriver set and a plier set and everything. And he taught me how to open things and solder things and to basically play with it. Now I wanted to build things. I knew a lot about how things worked, a lot, like in limit, but still a lot. But I didn't have parts. How do I get parts? So what I started doing is I started salvaging parts from electronics that was not working, but also from electronics that was still working. And I used to listen a lot. And now I would go around the village asking people, do you have appliances that are not working anymore? And they would say yes. I would just ask them to give it to me. I'll bring it home, dismantle it, remove the parts, and play with it, right? Build something. I would build flip flops. I would build a simple resistor, shunt resistors. I would simple build current conceptions, like very simple stuff. But that was very complex for me back then, right? So I kept doing that. And by the time I was in class 10th, I was going out of my father's knowledge range, right? Like even he has limits. But I was asking more advanced questions now, like black holes and God particles and how does the Big Bang happen, stuff like that. So he got, so he asked me to take admission in this one school, which is very famous school, about 14 kilometers from here, from this village. And there he took me straight to the library and he told the librarian, if you have encyclopedias, give all of it to this kid, right? In my school, I was the first kid to actually take out the encyclopedia out of the cover. Okay. And I read all the encyclopedias in about 3 weeks. All of it. I just went through the encyclopedia. Like, it was like food for me. I would not eat, but I would read it. So kept building this knowledge base. And by this time, by the time I was writing my 10th exam, everybody in this village knew what career I was choosing. Because again, I was going to their house, asking them if you have electronics, give it to me. So all of them knew. And even right now, I have not been in my village for past 6 years. But if you have asked anybody while I was not here, that do you know what he's doing? And they don't know me, like they have not contacted me after I left my village. They would still say he's probably doing engineering because that's what he would be doing. Right. And then after 10th, I went to Bangalore, and then Bangalore was a different world for me. I had access to internet, mobile phone, and I had access to actual electronics, Arduino boards, and I could finally let the demons loose and start building like crazy. And I did that. I learned coding not because it was taught to me. I learned coding because I wanted to program an Arduino. I learned all of my knowledge comes from a need of building something. I want to build something. How do I build it? Even machine learning. I got into machine learning because I was building robots by the time in college. First year, I was in college first year and I was building robots at the time. And I wanted to give vision to my robots. I wanted them to be able to see. So how do I give vision to my robots? Computer vision. What is computer vision? It's a type of machine learning. So that's how I got into machine learning. And so all of this can be blamed on one factor, that is my undying curiosity. And I have 100% of what I had when I was 6 year old or when I was 1 year old today. If I'm in a room where I see something that I don't know how it works, I'm not comfortable. I want to know how it works. I have to know how it works, right? It gets annoying for most people, but that's the reason I respect my father so much, because it's not easy to raise someone like me, right? And that's the reason I give him so much value, so much. I remember when I started making money, I was like, I will buy you things, right? Like I was like, I went to my father and I'll buy you things. I will give you money now. So yeah, that's how my career was decided. It was not something that I had to sit down and think about. It was very natural to me. From a very early age, I knew I was going there because I just love this. Engineering is this process of understanding the fundamentals of science and then applying it. And that's my passion. So I'm here doing exactly that every day.
And I can totally relate to it. I thoroughly enjoyed everything that you said, Akshay. And just so you can feel why I was all excited, because I had a
Yeah.
similar type of life back then when I was in middle school and high school. I would open different toys, and I think the first one was there was a coil that you have a chabi and then
Mhm.
you turn, and then
Yeah.
so you see that
Yeah.
coil,
You have a key and then
and
you
then
turn
when
it.
you open that
Yes.
coil will get loose, cut loose, and then there is no way
Yeah.
you can set
Yeah.
it back.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah,
My hands still have
yeah,
signs of
yeah,
cuts from
yeah,
those
yeah.
coils.
So that, and then the radio transistor, my mom's appliances,
Yes.
any of the electronic material. And I think the riskiest thing that I have done was opening the TV. And if you remember, back then, TV was
Yeah.
that CRT screen. It was not like a flat screen. And
Mhm.
those screen,
Yes.
even if you unplug, they have a huge capacitor. They have huge that CRT has enough power to kill you. And I learned
Yes.
that hard
Yes.
way.
Trust me. I have a burn sign because of that.
So I also learned that hard way.
I told you I have learned all of that the hard way. All of that. I have got shocks from like 440 volts
Yeah,
of current. I have gotten shocks from like mains power was
yeah.
like everyday thing for me. Right? I'm sometimes I'm surprised how it's been alive. Like the things I have done by far, I should have been. But yeah, yeah.
So just to share that how we we share that passion,
Yeah.
and then there's something happen, and that probably something that your father already taught you that. My son, when he was like 2 or 3 year old, he started asking some of the engineering question, and my
Mhm.
first instinct was to build something like that. You probably want to pursue your engineering career, and then once you will gain all that knowledge once you finish engineering. But I did not say that. I immediately stopped myself, said I am an engineer and I have not learned these type of things to do what he was talking about. He was talking about how we can create something where there is a one person in this room can use this power line to transfer just like electricity to another city or another place, right? It was He was just 3 4 year old and he was having this kind of idea,
Yeah.
and I did not say whether or not this can be done or whether he my first instinct was engineering, but it said stop. So I answer a few questions, and then I have a friend who is scientist. So I called him and then have them talk, and we three spoke, and then that idea went multiple iteration. It doesn't matter where that go, but it's he get an
Yes.
idea that if whatever is the idea, just keep thinking about it. You don't have to stop, and that a week later he has a different idea. But I did not ask him, do you
Yeah.
have to wait 20 years to to do your engineering and then only you can think about it, right? So I think your father has done tremendous to give you a practice that whenever there is an idea, you are allowed to think about it. You are allowed to go deeper into it and then go up to next idea or something.
The part is, I'm very conscious about that. Like I
Mm.
know that he has
Yeah.
done after stepping out of here, especially meeting other people in my college and meeting other people around, other friends and stuff, I realize how big of a gift I
Yeah.
have received from my own family. That like I'm here today. And when I say I'm here, I'm not like very accomplished in terms of the amount of money I'm making or whatever. That does not matter. When I say I'm here, I'm in a position where I can like my imagination does not sound like fiction anymore. Right? My imagination is not
Right.
fiction. It's just formulas that I have still not derived. Simple. Right? And this idea that, okay, every idea that you have in your mind is just formulas that you have still not derived comes from my father. And that is, I think, the biggest gift I have received from him. He has done a lot of other things for me. Like every father does. I'm sure you are doing it for your kids. And I'm sure other fathers do it for their kids. But this is the biggest gift that he could have given to me. That today, every idea I get, I'm like, okay, I don't know how to do this, but I also know that this is just a formula that I have not yet derived. But I can
Yeah.
one day or someday, or that just depends.
Wow. So that was a powerful question to ask you. How did you decide to do engineering? We went really deep into everything that has built and the foundation for who Akshay is and why Akshay do things the way he does
Yeah.
things, right? So that I thank you for sharing all that insight. And I'm glad that I asked you that question. Moving next, I want to ask, once you was done with your engineering or before, I guess I'm asking when you started the professional career until now, what are the things that has worked really well for you? And how do you see yourself from the point where you started working professionally to where you are now?
I think number one should be getting hurt. I think that has worked like the most for me. But I don't think that is a good answer. So I'll try to give a good answer. All right. And the right answer from my perspective, at least. The thing is, this all of this background that I gave you in the
Hmm.
previous section, this background comes with a downfall. And regardless of how we are taught about humility in the classical Indian families, the concept of humility is not exactly easy to give to your kids, at least at a young age. When I was about 14 or so, 13 or 14, I was at probably the most arrogant point of my life. When I look back at my 14-year-old self, I cringe out. I'm like, I was that, right? But I was this kid who knew about electronics really well. So I knew water transistors. I knew how to create flip flops. I knew how to create memory. I could create like 1-2 bit of memory on a breadboard in front of your
Mhm.
eyes when I was 13-year-old. And keep that in mind that till the time I didn't have access to internet. So I did not have I could just Google things. I could not do that. So I had this sense of achievement that I have learned all this and this is my achievement. And furthermore, I had knowledge of more physics, quantum physics, astrophysics, all of this, and then a good understanding of literature. I'm still good at literature, but at the time, for my age, I was really good at
Mhm.
literature, at reading poems. I was good at Sanskrit. I was reading good at reading Sanskrit and stuff. So basically, I thought that okay, I'm like this good. I deserve to be treated as an elite, right? Like elite or
Yeah.
what, however you pronounce it, like treated like an elite. Somehow, and a 14-year-old, it makes sense, right? Like you have more, let's say, information. I would not say knowledge, I would say information for your, and that somehow incites this arrogant personality in you that okay, you deserve to be treated somewhat better. And I was at that stage of life, and in my class 10th, nobody knew me. Nobody in my school, nobody had any idea who I was. I was the best student at speaking English in my whole school in class 10,
Okay.
even better than most of the teachers. And this is backed by data, by the way. I'll give you the data later, why I'm saying this. But, and I knew that I was this student and I thought I should be treated special because of this. But my school didn't care and the world didn't
Mhm.
care. And my other people of my village didn't
Right.
care. And at my own home, I was treated like I was still a kid, right? And it kept happening in class 10. And then at the end of class 10, there's something called as ASL, Assessment of Speaking and
Mhm.
Listening, where our school was looking for people who could speak very good English,
Okay.
right? And then they chose the people who were popular with the teachers and with other students. And I was obviously not chosen because I was still in this or arrogant phase where I should be treated better. I should be treated special. People should come to me and ask me, right? Why should I answer to this? Why should I? I was in that terrible state. And then this ASL starts happening. And I was talking to I had few friends. I don't know how they tolerated me at that stage, but I had few friends. And I think they were my friend because they were also interested in physics and stuff. So we could discuss high level physics. And I was discussing, it was, I think, lunchtime. And I was discussing this physics concept of a neutron star with one of my friends. And this is my habit when I'm talking in any language. If I get really excited about a topic, I start speaking in English because English is very simple to speak compared to our languages, Hindi and other languages, right? So I just transitioned into English and I just kept talking about neutron star in
Mhm.
English while a passing by teacher heard me, right? And he immediately picked me for ASL. He was like, okay, you should go for ASL. So I was picked, and then the school gets to realize that I am better at English speaking than any
Mhm.
student
Mhm.
in my school at the time. And when I was picked, I got that special treatment that I
Yeah.
wanted. I got that special treatment. And at the time, my arrogance was fueled. So my fire had the petrol in it. It was done. Everything was done. Everything was achieved. At that point, I should have gotten satisfaction. But what I got was loneliness. I didn't have satisfaction. I had loneliness. It was a very weird place where I felt like you have those sayings that it's very lonely at the top.
Mhm.
And I like to tell myself that I felt that lonely at the top thingy. But one of my friends came to me and he told me, why don't like you? Because and he gave me an instant example of something I had done like 10 minutes ago. He said, you answered that question about the gamma radiation. That was
Mhm.
correct. But that the way you answered it, the way I answered it, I still remember. I was like, have you even read about it? Do you know what gamma is? That was my tone. Have you even read about it? Do you even know what gamma is? Do you know how? That was my way of talking. And he said, do you realize that even if you're the most knowledgeable person in the room, nobody will come ask you
Yeah.
for things if that
Yeah.
is the way you make other people feel, right? Information can be remembered and forgotten. The way you made somebody feel, they will never. So that happened. And I went into this deep thinking mode where I was like, this is what I was doing wrong in my life. And then I tried to get to the point where if somebody treated me the way I treat other people, how would I feel? And then I saw that person whom I had replied to with that bad tone, that do you know about Gamma Edition? I saw him play football and he was amazing at football, right? So I knew that this person had one skill better than I had. He was better than me in at least one thing. And I had no right to treat myself as an elite in front of him. He was my peer. I was doing a discussion. I was not enlightening him.
Yeah.
Right. And this realization was somewhat of it. It also comes from my personality, the upbringing. My upbringing was very spiritual. And so this kind of hit like I have done a bad thing with my life by far. Like past 1-2 years of my life that I have been arrogant, it has been terrible. And I talked about this. I told my father, if this happened at school, and he said, oh my God, like how can like arrogance? He said, we have a lot of problems in this family, but arrogance is not one of them. And then he told me the difference between arrogance and self-confidence and how it varies and stuff. But from that point on time, 10th happened, and then I had this like long vacation period. And then in class 11, I was, in terms of this, I was a completely changed person. I would still talk about, I would still share my knowledge, but the way I would do it would be different. I would be like, do you know that there's this star out there and it's so fun? Like you would enjoy this. I think you would like this topic. You should read about it. I would like, I'll take interest in the next verse. I will say, oh, you seem like a person who would take interest in astrophysics. And this makes the next person feel intelligent. The next person feels like, oh, he considers me intelligent enough to read astrophysics. And in class 11th, I suddenly became really popular. Like I was at the point where in class 12th, I was conducting all the events. I was hosting all the events and all those things. And I started actually getting that elite treatment and feeling loved by friends around me, right? So I was at the top, but not lonely. I was at the top with my friends and all of them with me there. So that is something which I think I had to tell here that this was necessary, that this happened. And then comes engineering, where again, this continued. I just started till 12th. I didn't have any achievements to show for. And then the second realization came after 12th, before engineering, in first year of engineering, where now I had love of friends. I had knowledge and information, right? But I was still not considered for opinions at home or outside. So at college or something was happening, right? If I told, okay, I knew that the answer to solving that problem in the lab is to just update the driver. I would tell them that please update the driver. They would not listen to me. Why would they? I'm just another student trying to, act smart in their eyes, at least. And I realized that all of your knowledge, at least all of my knowledge, was of no use until I had achievements to provide evidence for, because not everybody can sit down and test it for themselves. And not everybody should be able to do that. So I thought, okay, I need to work toward things. And at the time I was still in the achievements mindset. So I would set goals in terms of, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve this. And that's when I started participating and trying to gather achievements for myself. In first year, I participated in this hackathon, simple hackathon, college level. Few colleges were there and only fourth year students were allowed. I was a first year student. So I went there, requested the organizers to please let me in. And first year students have to wear a uniform. So I was the only student on stage in uniform, right? When the results of the hackathon was announced, I was the only winner. So it was basically the start of how lecturers got to know about me. And now I was suddenly someone in college, from a no one to someone in college in the eyes of lecturers and stuff. And then just that kept up. I started a club, led a club, learned and taught machine learning, and then went on to win SIH, one of the biggest achievements any student can achieve in India. So when all of that happened, by the time of third year, when I got my first internship as a data science intern, I had all the evidence to provide for what I have done by far in my life. I had footprint in my college journey, in before that, after that. And then I took this data science job where I was like, okay, I enjoy playing with numbers and data science seems like the right career for me. And it was very simple for me to decide it. I just considered three things. What is something that I like doing? What is something that is hard to do? And what is something that makes money? So if you make a
Yeah.
Venn diagram, and I have made this Venn diagram before. So the intersection in between is my ideal career choice, right? And there were two candidates which were on top, machine learning and IoT, Internet of Things. But at the time, Internet of Things made less money than machine
Mm-hmm.
learning did. And that was basically the reason I chose machine learning. I was like, okay, I'll choose machine learning instead of IoT. And that's how I chose this career of machine learning. Kept kept at it. And then after 6 months of internship, they asked me to become full time. And I told them, okay, I'm in college and I cannot do full time because it's not legally allowed. They told me, okay, you can keep on paper, we'll write it as an intern, but start taking responsibilities at company and we will pay you more. So that was the understanding between us. And I started doing that. Actually, by the end of, so when I was graduating, when I was writing my final year exam, I was also the in charge of data department at my company, doing meetings with other companies and pulling off deals worth like $40,000, $50,000 at once. So both of the responsibilities was going side by side. And then college ended and then I kept working as a data scientist. And then in November, so my work demographics
Mm-hmm.
had changed a little and my interest was going. So I found myself bringing up large language models and a more advanced AI algorithms into my work. So I realized that wherever I did not even need large language models, I was bringing up large language models, which gave me the hint that I really want to get into large language models, which is the AI side, artificial intelligence side. So I quit my job, right? I gave a resignation without any prior
Mm-hmm.
plan, without thinking anything. I didn't have a job. I didn't have an offer. I didn't even knew much of AI. I just quit my job, studied AI for a month in December, and January I joined another company as an applied AI engineer, started writing AI, prompt engineering, and deploying embedding models and stuff. So yeah, that was my long journey by
No,
fast.
this is good. You covered many things. Did you finish? I thought you were saying about something about opinion within the work environment.
No, it was not the work environment. It was just that I would, let's say, if I would bring up something, for example, in my college lab, I would give an example. If my
Mhm.
college lab, some device, some IoT device was not working. And I knew that to make it work, they just had to update the
Okay.
drivers,
Okay.
right? I gave that opinion that, okay, listen to me, update the driver, and they would not listen to me because I didn't have any
Yeah.
evidence to
Yeah.
show for it that I am qualified to give this opinion. So that's what motivated me to go for achievements, so that my opinions are heard, so that people know that these opinions are backed by
Okay.
evidence,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
That was the
Got
context.
it. Got it. Got it. And if you have to pick one or two things that has helped you in last 2 years the most, what would be?
Okay. First would be time management. So the way I do time management, and this I have learned from a video. I said, right, few references, but this I've learned from a
Mhm.
TED talk. The way I manage time is I segregate every task that I perform or I have to perform into either of three categories. It's career, relationships, or self. And if there's a task that does not qualify to be in any of these three, then I should not be doing
Okay.
it. I started doing it and it has done wonders for me. Absolute wonders for me. For example, as soon as I find myself doing something or I want to do something, I immediately think which of these three categories this
Okay.
should go in. Right? Does it go in my career? Does it help or propel my career? No. Does it help my relationships with my family, with my friends, with my anybody in my life for that matter? No. Does it help myself? Does it bring me mental peace or physical peace or improves my health? No. Then it should not be done. That has been by far my point. So every time, for example, I have to go out with my friends, where does the time come from? I have allotted certain time for relationship stuff, right? So when I'm with my friends, I'm present. I am not on my phone scrolling. There have been instances where I'm sitting on a table, my phone is nowhere to be seen, but everyone else is on their phones. And I'm like, guys, this is not right. Right. So this happens. Same for career. I know that again, most of my time I allot to my career. And this, like for example, I'm taking a course. I know this is helpful for my career. I'm watching anime. This is for my
Mm-hmm.
mental peace. This comes in self. I'm watching a course. This comes in my career. I am calling a friend. This comes in relationships. I'm calling my mother. This comes in relationships. Right. All of the things I perform on a daily basis comes in either of these three categories. If it does not, it should not be done. I have followed this for the past 2 years, and this has worked wonders for me. Right. And this is basically my whole time management strategy. It's simple. If a task does not come in
Yeah.
these three categories, it should not be done. And that has basically been my time management strategy. And that is also the first thing that has drastically changed my life in past journey. I have been able to learn more
Mm-hmm.
things. I learned how to play ukulele. I learned basically all of AI stuff. I learned. I also learned how to drive a car. I got my license pretty recently, and so I have been able to learn a lot of stuff, and also go on trips, talk to my friends, be more present with my friends and stuff. I've been able to do all that because of this simple strategy. So this is first thing that has worked wonderful for me. And if I were to choose the second thing, I picked machine learning. And some people, when they visit my hostel room, when they visited my hostel room back in the day, or when they visit my place now where I live, they ask me even only one question: why are you not an electronics engineer, or why are you not a robotic
Mm-hmm.
engineer? Because if you literally see my room, or if you've seen my hostel room, there was a corner of the room that was full of electronics and a table, a workbench, and a soldering iron and stuff, right? And this thing, when I chose machine learning as my career, using that Venn diagram that I explained earlier, I also did another thing. I chose electronics and robotics, for
Mm-hmm.
that matter, as my primary hobby. So how I like to give, and this is very personal, this is a very personal thing. How I like to visualize this is I take my energy in form of a pencil. And when I work, I am using that pencil. But when you use a pencil, it becomes blunt,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm using this pencil, it becomes blunt. It's not usable anymore. The hobby, my primary hobby is a sharpener. I use my primary hobby to
Yeah.
recharge myself. And my primary hobby is building electronics. I sit down, I forget about everything. Just sometimes I'll play music. I'm an audiophile. I like to love to listen to music a lot. I'll play music and I'll just build something. Or almost every day I'll build one project on that day. I'll build it. I'll just look at it work. It's very fun to look at electronics project work. And then I'll just disassemble it and keep things aside. I will not take a photo. I will not post about it. I will
Mm-hmm.
not post my project. Sometimes I'll do for few things. Most things I'll not post about it. It's not something that I'm keeping as a career. If you bring making money or forceful development into something, it becomes something of a
Right. Right.
liability
Right.
than an asset. And this is my primary asset. This is something that pulls me out of dark places. And everybody gets ups and downs in their lives. Electronics is something that I use to just go through things, right? And this has worked wonders for me. Like this I have kept. I know I am not going to use this as a source of income. I'm not going to use this as a career. This is just for fun. No
Mm-hmm.
pressure at all. I start building something I have not completed for 3 months. No pressure. Nobody is there to ask me why I have not completed it. And that is just wonderful. I sit down, build stuff. It's just fun. I get the dopamine hit. I just get the serotonin hit, and then I'm just fine. It's work, and then I keep it aside. So that is the second thing. Yeah, having a primary hobby that I absolutely love helps me in basically maintaining my energy.
Yeah. Wow. This was good. This was good, Akshay. I'm using gardening as that fuel right now.
That is awesome. My brother uses gardening, and he's very good at it. So I find gardening hard personally. So a lot of respect to you because if you're doing it, yeah, I know you'll become, if you're not trying, get good at it, you'll become good at it. But gardening is fun because again, you see the physical results of these things, right? Like you
Yeah,
grow
every
something.
day
It's fun. I know.
there is a
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a Montessera plant inside the house, and for about a week and a half, a new leaf is coming, and so pleasant, so
Yeah.
exciting to
Wow.
just see that every single day it grow a bit more. This is great, Akshay. We are about an hour, so let's bring it to a close. I guess we can keep
Yeah.
talking for an entire day. So many great topics. But
So
I feel like so connected that it's like my story. There's so many things that completely resonating with my way of living or something that I have done. So it's incredible. So I wanted to take this to a closer by asking last three questions. Is there anything that I have not asked but you would like to include in this interview?
I would like to just include a very small factor. It's the why. And you have
Mhm.
talked about it actually, but we did not talk in this
Mhm.
context and bring it in this context. So when I was in my hostel, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. every day. In the boys' hostel, it's a
Mhm.
rare event,
Mhm.
to be honest, that somebody is waking up at 5 a.m. And people would ask me, like, how can you wake up at 5 a.m., right? Or how can you finish 6 hours of lecture in a day? Or how can you study for 6 hours a day? And I used to, for machine learning, I used to like, I think I studied basically toxically for about 3, 4 months for machine learning. And that comes from this strong why, very strong why. And this thing is, I think everybody in their life, they should not force a why. Everybody has a why. If they don't know it yet, they should try to find it. And if they already know their why, if they know they have
Mhm.
found it, then they should understand how important it is. For me, it was my mother's health. My mother always struggled with health issues. So I come from a farmer's family,
Mhm.
right? We had everything other than money. We had political power. We had a lot of food. But somehow we never had money. And my mother struggled with health issues because in lack of money. And before leaving this place, before leaving here, I remember there was a day when I was studying for my 10th class exam and I'm sitting exactly where I'm
Mhm.
sitting
Mhm.
right now. And like in front of me is the bed. So directly in front of me is the bed. And my mother is on the bed as he's basically crawling in pain on the bed. Like absolutely crawling in pain. It was like a traumatizing experience for me. I
Mhm.
saw it happen. I heard the doctor say that if you don't do something very quickly, she will not survive this. He had a very
Mhm.
terrible infection and abdomen area. The doctor said that if you don't do something quickly, she'll not survive this. My father did all he could. He got money, kept like all of his savings
Mhm.
and stuff, and sent her for treatment with me. And that's how I went to Bangalore. Actually, that was the reason. And I went there, and her treatment had to be distant. She improved a bit, and then she and my father they both decided that they will pause the treatment because of my studies. And I did not know it at the time, but they did it because of my study. Because my studies needed money. And I got to know this 1 year later,
Mhm.
right? When I was trying to get education loan, I studied on an education loan. 1 year later, I was trying to get an education loan. And at the time, I knew that they have done this for
Mhm.
my sake, and this I've learned from other relatives. But the why, this is when I found
Mhm.
the why, right? But how did I understand the importance of this? And this comes from a very crazy incident where my father actually here. So I am there in
Mhm.
Bangalore and my father is here. So these two, I'm in Bihar, right? So my father was in Bihar and I'm in Bangalore. My father is in a bank to talk about the education loan. And he calls me to ask me some detail. And then my father had the habit to just keep the phone and he'll not disconnect it before keeping the phone. And he expects the other person
Mhm.
to disconnect it. He just kept the phone and he kept talking. And I forgot to disconnect it. Then I picked up my phone and I thought it's still connected. So I thought I'll just hear what's going on because it was
Mhm.
about my education loan. So I hear my father say to the bank manager, he was saying that. So he said that in Hindi, but I'll just translate it in English. He was saying that we were not able to provide enough resources for how bright our kid was. If we had enough money, then our kid would be on television and,
Mhm.
you know, working in a foreign company or something by today. His, and this is my father talking about me, and I just
Mhm.
overhear it on the call, right? And he's saying that he's the most brilliant child I have known in my entire life. I have seen a lot of kids, and he's the most brilliant kid I know. He's very good with computers. He's very good with electronics. He learns things very quickly, and he's very regressive. He does not give a phone to him. He's talking about, and I heard all of that. And when I was done with it, how could I afford to not prove him right? I had to prove him right. And that was my strong why. That's what woke me up every day at 5 a.m. That's what made me study for 7 hours every day. That's what made me like people ask me, like, how do you get a remote job? And I tell them, like,
Mm.
very tough to get a remote job and we need a lot of effort and stuff. How
Yeah.
can I not? If I'm with this environment, how can I not? And that strong why, this motivation was not going anywhere. If my motivation was like, oh, no, I have to buy an iPad, I have to buy an iMac, I have to afford a bike, it could go up and down. This was not going anywhere. This still stays with me. Every time I'm studying something, I'm doing good. I feel proud. I'm like, I'm proving my father right every day. And that is my strong why. That is, again, still today, it's something that's propelling me like really fast and really forward. It is this why. So I think everybody out there should find their why and then understand the importance of their why. That why they should do this, why they have to do this kind of stuff, basically. So yeah, that is something. Sorry for the.
And actually, you will be non-stop, unstoppable. Have you listened to that song? That anytime I need energy, I just go and listen to that song, Unstoppable.
Yeah, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
In my gym, that plays a lot.
Thank you.
But the thing
Well,
is, the good part is that was not the only time my father talked good about me. Like now that the world, I'm gonna say the world, like at least my father's world. What is my father's world? His relatives and the people in the village. Today, everybody tells him how successful his son is, and this is the biggest sense of achievement I can have, where my father knew who I was before anybody else knew,
yeah.
and I prove him right every day. Just that. So it be whatever it is.
Well, I know you probably may or may not able to realize and feel this thing that for him, having a son like you is almost like his biggest achievement is life.
Oh no, he talks about it. He talks it.
Because
So
once you
one,
become a parent, then you feel
yeah,
you able to realize the other side of the feelings.
this is a small incident, but some relative was here. And he was just basically joking about how my father is very good at his trade, but he did not do any job lifelong. He chose to be a farmer. He was saying like, you all with all of your knowledge and your wisdom, why did you still choose to be a farmer? And my father's reply was, my biggest achievement is him. And I was right there. I was like, oh my. So yeah, he talks about it. He even tells it to my face. He's like,
Mm.
if somebody calls that your father is a farmer, tell them that my biggest achievement is you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I tell them, don't worry. And this again, sense of achievement was when I took my father to my parents, both my father and my mother to my college. And they talked to the placement officer, the vice principal, my HODs, all of my
Yeah.
lecturers, right? And every time they would come out of their cabins, they would come in tears. I have never seen my father cry, but when his father expired, I did not see him cry. But that day, every cabin he came out of, he was in tears. And I knew what my reputation is in college, but seeing that was the real sense of satisfaction that, yeah, I have like the decision that I made 3 years ago that I will prove my father right about myself. I'm able to do that, at least in parts, if not completely till yet, but I'm right.
By the way, not sure if you do this or not, but if you're not, then please do this. Tell your father with exact example, one thing a time is how something that he has done at a specific day impacted you in whatever ways.
Yeah.
With a very specific examples. Yeah. Akshay, do you have any question for me?
Yeah, I have, I have a lot of questions for you. You know that. But one specific one that I wanted to really ask is doing what you do. I like a lot of your posts show up on my feed on Twitter and this whole thing. And then last time we were talking on a meeting, you explained to me that you have built the newsletter system, the funnel, the audience funnel, right? The lead funnel.
Mhm.
Doing what you need. It requires a lot of specificity to point out. And as someone who grabs every shiny thing,
Mhm.
how did you said that, okay, from the past 2 years, you have from 2021, you mentioned that you
Yeah.
have been what, how would you suggest one to not immediately, because immediately it's not possible, but how would you suggest one to try and identify their tunnel vision in their life, let's say?
It's a great question. And I'm trying to see which way should I answer this. I will just say that my reason behind what I'm trying to do with writing and coaching and everything, building funnel, it will be multiple step answer. Okay. Just word of warning.
Mm-hmm.
When I started my software career, or when I started my career after engineering, I had a very dark day, 2 years of dark days, lost hope, hated job, crappy. And then when I found my first software job, I gave all in. Like I found my respect back. And then for 3 years, I was working night and days. And when I could not find a job after engineering, I made myself a promise that whatever situation I am in, I will not be in that situation 5 years from now. And I think around 3.5 years later, I was working in, or maybe 4 years later, I was working in the fifth largest software development company. And I had a lot of respect around my technical abilities and how I carry out projects and my work, right? Then I made another promise that I will become a manager and something like that. And I executed it. So my point is, I have an ability to be a learner and work from the state where I have nothing to become something. And as I was sharing, the tunnel vision that I have right now was not there for any of my side activity, but I had that for my 9 to 5 job. At some point in 2017 and 19, between 17 and 19, I went through a executive coaching because after becoming a senior manager, the next thing for me was becoming a director for the current company or another company, or go to a startup and become CTO, whatever, right? There was, and I went through that executive coaching where they were helping me build executive presence.
Mhm.
In that coaching, it was about 8, 10 months of coaching. I did a lot of journaling. You go in these coaching thinking they will help you stand the right way or dress appropriately. Like if they will make you an executive type person. But what really happen is they help you go introvert. And most of the answer you will find inside you. So during that coaching, 8 month coaching, I wrote an article that talk about I have started XYZ and then how I grew it and how I abandoned it.
Mhm.
I started writing that article as a negative mindset that I'm somebody who would start something, spend time and quit, and then would start something else. By the time I finished that article, Akshay, something very prominent happened, and something very prominent that I have identified, that even though I was quitting too many things, as in I was going back to writing. Right. And that was a consistent theme since 2006, that I would start a blog, I would start a website, I would start a book, writing a book. I, and then I would stop, but then I would go back and start it again. That was one thing that I have restarted like 9 times in last 20 years. Plus a award that I won in 10th grade, I think, an impromptu essay writing competition. I got the gold medal. All those got connected, and I felt like this is it. This is where I probably want to go. This is my inner calling. Then I started writing, took my Medium blog to 150,000 views per month. At that point, I said, all right, now I could reach to whatever extent I could. I need professional help. And I think this is something that I'm enjoying. This is something that I can take to the next level. And I was still thinking in terms of number of followers, number of views, and all. And I joined 30 for 30. I joined their advanced class. Then I got into a big group of other writers. And in that course, that actually the course was 5 weeks, but then because I joined their advanced program, it was like lasted a year. They helped me sharpen the right, not look at writing as something that you write an article or post, but they transform that into more like a message, more like a business, more like something that you can earn from. So anyway, long story short, by the end of 2021, I realized that I can not only make it big, I could also convert this into a business, something that I can retire in. And I should not wait for my retirement. I should do something. Should build something now and then leave the job and just do this full time. Anyway, because of that background, because of the realization that writing is the ultimate thing that I go back to and I enjoy and I can make it big, I around that time I started this quarterly goal setting, October of 2021. So since then, I set a goal, which is an incremental or bigger goal for that quarter. Where can I take this writing next? So sometime I would pick a goal to set action goal, like you were saying, that I will send one newsletter every week. I would do these many article, and then I will do these many exercises. Sometime one quarter I set a goal to write a book and I published it. And then I would go to the audience. I shown you one of the quarterly plan that talk about all different things. So the long story short, I was with I had a background, and then I was very strategic about making this really big. That big that I cannot even think about. Making it so big that I cannot even think right now. Did that answer your question, Akshay?
I think there's a saying, I don't remember who said it, but I think you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems.
Mhm.
And I think in your case, you have risen to your system. So that is, yeah, that is really awesome to hear. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
You're most welcome. I wrote something today that I want to think so big that none of my family member have to ever think small.
Wow. Wow. That is a nice piece.
That's how I
And
was
it
feeling.
comes from just saying that this comes from 100% experience because no one who has not experienced this can write it. So yeah, it shows that you have been there, you have done that. And yeah.
Yeah. And I've done something so big that I would not have thought I would do. So in last 3 years, as I was saying, I've invested in writing programs. I've invested in some organizing myself, build a second brain program. And I just invested in, I think this is one of the biggest investment that I made to myself is I signed up for a program from Benjamin Hardy. He's a writer. He has written book like Your Future Self, 10x is better than 2x. He's written many books. So I paid a big amount just for 1 quarter, but that gave me weekly access to him, his philosophy. And the idea is he's helping us, like whoever have joined that program, is to think really big about whatever next we want to do. Okay. Moving to the last question. What is your message to the audience? And our audience is programmer, developer with 0 to 5 year experience.
Mhm. It's the easy one. Again, a lot of students, right? So I've experienced a lot of students. And one thing that I have noticed is whenever they interact with someone like me or like yourself, a lot of people who they think that we have it all figured out and we have not. So I'm telling you is I am in the same boat as you. I am also learning as I'm going. I am also trying to figure life out. I am also in the same boat. I have just probably implemented more systems. I am just probably more consistent. If you're not seeing results, maybe just improve those aspects of your life. But it's not that we are drastically different from each other. We are probably the same people. I probably have an average IQ of 110 or something. And I'm the same person as you. So I think everyone out there is, most people out there are just average people, but they just have strong whys to do things. And I have said before also, I think this count as a advice that find your why, understand your why. I know that none of us has it all figured out, and we are all in the same boat. So just keep calm and work towards your why, because your why is important. So yeah.
Great advice. And Akshay, thank you so much for coming to this podcast. I really enjoyed every minute of it. You shared some personal and
I think it was more of a therapy than a podcast for me. So thank you for calling me here. It was really awesome to talk to you, as always.
uh, and therapy than a podcast. That can become a testimonial, actually.
Please do it. I'll gladly invite it.
All right. Thanks, Akshay. I
You're
typically
welcome. And thank you so much for giving me this chance to talk about myself, because I really enjoyed it. And I have told you this before, but you are a great host and an amazingly regulated person. So thank you.
thank you so much, Akshay. Bye for now.